is for clients and for new clients? Is it, social media, search engines, offline? Where are people finding their best and new clients, most similar to their best clients they have today? Now I get to shut up and everybody gets to talk. Who wants to go first?
I do a lot of referrals.
Yeah, that's always the best. That's always the best group, and that's a good reason why we're all here today, obviously. So, what are people?
I find that's my best client. Is someone who refers someone to me is my best client.
Jeannie, what are some of your? I don't want to call them tricks, but what are some of your the craft that you use to kind of explain a little bit better how you go about getting referrals from existing customers?
Simply, I just ask. I ask, who do you know that would be a good fit for me? No matter, what I'm talking about at that particular moment, whatever, because I do have a portfolio of businesses. So it's just really simple. It's just a matter of just asking. There's no real trick up the sleeve. What it is somebody's always thinking of somebody as you're telling them whatever it is that you're explaining to them, or as you're talking about, the businesses. Because I know when someone is telling me about their business, I'm saying, oh my gosh, this would be good for A, B, and C. But not a lot of times will I say, you know what, I know that A, B, and C would be great for you. But if you say to me, Jeannie, who do you know that would be a great fit? I'll say it. Does that kind of make sense?
Makes complete sense. And that is, I know if you do any type of research on this topic, or, you do any advanced, classes or anything on this thing, they're always ask. That's the number one. Why don't people get referrals? They don't ask. And a lot of times it's best to have a process and a procedure to actually go about making sure that you do get that referrals every time. And that's, that's something where I'd like to find out, does anyone have a process that they use to to really make sure they get referrals on a regular basis? Do they have an email chain or anything that they send out or anything along those lines?
Hey, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
So I have a request. Can you not do the screen sharing during this
Sure.
portion so we can see each other? That might help a lot of us. Does
There
me.
you go.
Thank you. And so for me, it's the asking, and we teach classes on that. And Jeannie, you get a gold star for saying that. And I find I get most of my referrals after an event. So whenever we have a big event, whether it be a networking event, a trade show, something like that, that's when referrals come in. We always ask, of course, but sometimes there's just a reminder of, this is why I'm doing this, and others should do it too. So like if this meeting's great, which I'm sure it will be, maybe at the end you remind all of us that you're looking for referrals.
Yep, and that is another great time to ask, is when it's right on top of mind. It's top of mind, and especially when you've done something for someone, when you've actually just gone and helped someone with something along the way. Again, you say, how can I help? How can I do this with someone? How can I do this with someone else?
Something you're also very good at is, I find that when we say anyone is no one. So we're like, oh, anyone's a client for me. That's no one. But you're very good at being specific about who you're looking for. So now I'm thinking of movers and whoever it might be that I might know in my network for you. So that's a good way too.
Perfect. And now beyond referrals, what are people finding, and what works for people? What are people using?
So Dennis, I'll say that social media, and in particular, I think Facebook for my business, and because I've been able to connect with a lot of people from high school, which will be 40 years ago. There's a before and afters where they see, people have lost weight and they're like, what are you doing? How did you do that? Because everyone's trying to do that, but struggling, right? So I think Facebook and social media in general. I mean, I know myself, when I'm looking for something, the first thing I do is Google.
Yeah. And then as far as, so how are you leveraging, I know you have groups and all, I know how you're doing it, Lisa, but kind of share with everyone else how you're actually able to make Facebook work beyond, obviously your core friend group, but beyond your core friend group as well.
Well, we have Facebook Lives every other Thursday evening, where it's a 20 to 30 minute session where the plan is gone over. And a lot of times there's, guests on there that will talk about their journey and what's worked for them, and why this plan is different than any other plan. And people are invited to that. So from that standpoint, I also have a Facebook page that is open, where people can also learn about the plan, go on their own. if they're intimidated and asking questions or whatever, you can go on and learn and read different articles and see pictures, testimonials, and things like that.
Is anyone using any Facebook boosting posts, paid ads, or anything with Facebook from that line? Does anyone have any experience that they want to talk about with that?
I've done it. Didn't work well for me.
Paul, you're up.
So what I've done is I've had Facebook ads that just promote a free training, and the trainings are anything from effective email campaigns. Sometimes I have what I call open mic night, where people can just ask questions. And by having the free webinar, the free trainings, it gets the visibility and people go, oh, he kind of knows what he's doing. Let me follow up, because I was at the end of that, put a call to action of get a complimentary website audit. So that usually will generate some calls and some conversations that just go in the process and will convert.
Yeah.
So for me, when I set up Facebook ads for my clients and myself, I noticed there's that sweet spot of $30 a day or more. That anything under that, it's if you're asking them to buy anything, it's really tough. Like what Paul said, if you give them something free, you're much more likely for them to respond. What it does do is it drives a lot of traffic to the website or whichever landing page you're sending them to. I wouldn't recommend them personally for if you're selling, like if you want them to make that purchase at that moment. If you're trying to build your brand and just drive traffic, I think it's a great idea, and it's very successful if your message and your audience matches well. But yeah, I found that $30 a day, even though you can do $5 a day, you can do whatever. But if you're asking them to buy something, you got to really commit and spend the money. If not, then don't waste your time, unless it's traffic you're looking for.
Exactly. And the same thing along those lines. It's as compelling as the call. I mean, if you look at Facebook, social media, any of those things, they're scrolling through a scroll. So it's almost like you're sitting at your desk and someone calls you on a cold call. It's not like you've never bought anything from a cold call, but that call has got to be what you want and what you need at that time, and it's got to be really compelling. And then you'll listen, and you may take that call, or the person may be really dynamic at the other, and you're like, yeah, I'll entertain this person. But for the most part, most of them end up in a nothing, and that's the same thing with any of these ads. Think of it like that. Like it's no different than putting a call into thing. You've got a 15 seconds, a second to really land them, so that it's got to either be very targeted to the exact people, and it's got to drive through. And it's hard. It's hard, especially on social media. Whereas at Google, you're closer to the funnel. Someone's going out looking for you. They're looking for that thing already. Social media, you're catching them while they're trying to unwind and do other things.
Inbound versus outbound marketing.
Exactly. George, you are up.
Sorry. Yeah, I've been told, and maybe Paul or someone can chime in on this with their what they think. Google My Business is where you've got to be spending your attention today. That's the place.
Yes, I agree.
One of the places, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not the only place, but it's important.
Well, yeah.
For you, George, in particular, again, we'll cover that next week, and local, targeted, whatever. Since you are targeted and you are local and you have a set parameter, yes, because you're only allowed to, or your focus is on a very local area, then without a doubt, that's a great driver for you. Because Google puts preference on that. Google puts preference on locality now because of that, and maps and everything. And Google puts priority on products. And that's why our page works, and that's why our karma works, because we were kind of listing our pages as products as opposed to just general pages. So Google puts their focus where Google makes money. And Google makes money through Google Shopping. So that's why Google focuses on product, and the same thing. And Google focuses on local because they're charging more and more for that local and the map piece. And that's really, as we talked about in our last session about apps, local apps. It's all about driving. It's all about while you're in the car. Most of the other apps aren't being used as much anymore. So when it comes to, that's where Google wants you on your phone, local, where you are, pin you. That's why Google local matters. Excellent. Any other sources, areas? What about email? Are people still using email? How's email working for people? What,
Definitely.
again, the trick is the list, right? It's all about the list.
And the
So,
message, the list and the message.
yep. So where are people getting their lists and how are they crafting lists if they don't already have lists? Any suggestions, ideas?
I'll chime into that only because I'm in the thick of it right now. So, I mean, there's two sources. If you have a huge budget, Zoom Info is really good. It's probably $12,000 a year. You get a limited amount of contacts, but it's a database of 30 million people. It'll tell you just intel about what they're searching for when they're at work, what positions they're in, how long they've been with the company, whether the company has gotten funding in the last little while, what their initiatives are, whether it's like, oh, we're gonna, revamp our phone systems or our software or move to the cloud. Zoom Info is awesome for that. A more affordable option is Leads 411. And that's what I personally tap into. And my clients do both Zoom Info and Leads 411. So I have experience with both, but for $37 a month if you pay annually, or $50 a month if you pay month to month, you get 150 contacts out of millions of contacts in the database, very similar to Zoom Info. And yeah, you get 150 contacts a month for $37.50. So I think it's a really fantastic deal, and you can really use the filters to hone in on your exact audience. And of course they have larger packages. Like one of my clients is doing 450 contacts per month for $250 a month. So depending on what you want, it's a really great resource, and it's affordable to tap into to grow your list. Marlena?
Yeah, I want to just say that I think, there's a difference somehow in my mind. What I do for a living, which is sell real estate, it's a relationship business. Somebody forms a relationship with me over a period of time. So I think reviews are so key for me.
Yes.
Because it really is, it's different. And I'm sure Desiree can, speak to this as well. It's different than something you do for a short time. So you're forming a relationship. So one of the ways that realtors, and I do this as well, is there's the beginning to the relationship where you're trying to show somebody your value, which is maybe creating a market analysis for them. Right. So something that's meaningful for them, because everybody has questions about the value. It's a big ticket item, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes,
so there's
absolutely.
a difference in how you do that in my mind.
And I think that gets right to the core of it as well. It really depends on where it is in the essence of what that product is. Is this product something that's product or service, something that's going to impact my life forever? Like what house I live in, I'm going to do it every day. I'm going to do that. There's a lot more thought put into it. Is it something where I need something to put on my feet for a week? I mean, I'm gonna, it all depends on what you're looking at, and that impact, the cost of it, and all those things all factor in. So there obviously are no one answers. So it's always great to hear what other people have for other services. Chris, and then we'll wrap up this section and get to the next.
So we just had a big event on Friday, and it's exactly what you said. It's a little bit of everything. It seems to be what worked, but in the end, it was the personal touches. It was those private emails. I used a CRM system where I could see the open rates and see them opening live and how quickly they responded. And the mistake I made was I reached out probably too late in the game and people were busy, but the bulk of the people that came were people that I personally invited. So it wasn't the press releases. It wasn't all the stuff that we did. It was probably a combination, to be honest. Maybe it was multiple touches, but I know those individual emails addressed personally to them with just a line of some kind of personal indication that it was real. And then the meat of it really worked.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, no, it's tricky. I mean, again, there's no one silver bullet, and anything that does work in scale gets old quick, and it's usually hard to do things at scale. It's usually
And this works. Networking works.
Yep. Rolling up the sleeves and doing it week in and week out is what helps. So awesome.